two expressions in today's Watchtower comments are our heart and Jehovah's thinking. Now, based on these key expressions, let us consider these questions. What is our heart? How deep should Jehovah's thoughts enter into it? And what steps can we take to absorb God's thinking? So, what is our heart? Well, in the Bible, the word heart is mentioned some 1,000 times. Now, of that large number of occurrences, only a few verses refer to the literal heart. All other verses refer to the figurative heart. So, what is our figurative heart? Our inner person. Does it refer to our emotions? Yes, our emotions are part of our heart. Does it refer to our thinking abilities, our mind? Yes, the mind is part of it. Does it refer to our motivations? Yes, the motivations are part of it. So then, how do these different parts all relate to one another? Well, to answer, let's compare our heart with a book. A book is made up of several chapters. Similarly, our heart is made up of several qualities and capabilities. Now, just as all chapters together form a book, so all qualities of our inner person together form our heart. Well, how many chapters, so to speak, are there in our heart? Well, numerous. They include not only our emotions, motivations, and thoughts, but also our attitude, desire, disposition, goals, and other aspects. Just as all chapters together form the heart, how many chapters, so to speak, are there in our heart? Well, our heart stands for all the qualities of the inner person that make each of us the unique individual we are. Now, how deep should Jehovah's thoughts enter into our heart? Well, the Bible answers that question by means of a comparison, and we find that comparison at Proverbs chapter 7, verse 1 to 3. Perhaps you would like to read along. Proverbs 7, verse 1 and 3. We will start in verse 1. My son, keep my sayings and treasure up my commandments. And then the last part of verse 3, write them on the tablet of your heart. Now, why did Solomon use the word tablet when speaking about the heart? Well, today when we hear the word tablet, what do we think of? Well, likely we think of a handheld electronic device. But back in Bible times, when the Israelites heard the phrase, write my commandments upon the tablet, it must have reminded them of the 2-stone tablet on which Jehovah wrote the 10 Commandments. And come to think of it, in a way, those tablets were also handheld devices, but very heavy ones. Now, in Exodus chapter 24, we find the first mention in the Bible of the word tablets. There, Jehovah told Moses that he would write his commandments on stone tablets. And then in Exodus chapter 32, verse 16, the Bible describes the method of writing that Jehovah had used. The tablets were the workmanship of God, and the writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets. So what did the Israelites know about the method of writing that Jehovah had used? Well, they knew that God's laws were not written on the surface of the tablet with a piece of chalk. No, if that had been the case, the laws could have been easily erased. They knew that God's commandments were engraved on stone tablets. They understood that the laws of God were so deeply impressed into the tablets that they had become part of the stones. They could not be washed away or erased. They were indelible. So then, why did Solomon compare the heart with a tablet to teach an important truth about the connection between Jehovah's thoughts and our heart. What is it? Just as God's laws were engraved in the tablet, so God's instructions should be engraved in our heart, in our inner person. They should become a permanent part of us. So what steps can we take to ensure that our heart absorbs God's thinking? Well, the psalmist David helps us to answer that question at Psalm 19, verse 14. Now let's read it together and note with what activity David connects the heart. Psalm 19, verse 14. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Jehovah, my rock and my redeemer. So this psalm connects the heart with meditation. And indeed, when we meditate on God's word, we let our heart absorb God's thinking. But we need to meditate in the proper way. What way is that? Well, think of this comparison. Studying God's word and taking time to meditate on it is a bit like making a cup of tea. A cup of tea? What is the connection? Well, to make a cup of tea, you need a cup, water, and a tea bag. Now let's compare the cup with our outer person. And let's compare the water in the cup with our inner person or our heart. Then we have the tea bag. Well, this is not just a common average tea bag. No, this bag is filled with the finest tea that can be found. The contents of the bag is not only tasty, but also nutritious. It even has health benefits. Now let's compare this precious tea bag with a Bible passage. Now, what do we need to do first before we put the tea bag in the water? First, we need to prepare the water so that it will have the right temperature or condition to receive the tea bag. Similarly, before reading the Bible, first we need to prepare our inner person so that it will be in the right condition to receive God's words and thoughts. We prepare our heart, we warm the water, so to speak, by praying to Jehovah, asking him to open our heart to receive his words. After that, we are ready to take the next step. We put the tea bag in the water. Likewise, after prayer, we are ready to take the next step. We start reading the Bible. Now, what will we do next with the tea bag? Well, now comes the crucial question. How long will we let the tea bag steep in the water? Well, if we are in a hurry, we may leave the tea bag for a few seconds in the water, then we move it a couple of times up and down and we pull it out. The result, we end up with a weak cup of tea. Likewise, if we read the Bible hastily and we think about what we read just for a few seconds and then we hurry off to do our daily activities, what will be the result? We do not give our heart the time needed to absorb God's thoughts. But if we let the tea bag steep much longer in the water, then we allow the water to absorb the tea becomes part of the water, and we end up with a strong cup of tea. Similarly, after carefully reading a Bible passage, we pause and take our time to meditate on what we read. In that way, we will give our heart the opportunity to absorb the precious truth from God's word. What will be the result? Jehovah's thoughts will become an indelible part of our heart. So, in summary, what are the 3 points that we considered? First, our heart encompasses all the qualities of the inner person that makes each of us the unique individual we are. Second, Jehovah's thoughts should enter so deep into our heart that they become a permanent part of it. And third, to absorb Jehovah's thoughts in our heart, we need to meditate calmly on what we read in God's Word. When it comes to meditation, what is our goal? We want to be a strong cup of tea.